Hey guys, Nyla Blades here with Polka Dot Coaching, and today we're going to be talking about passion. So passion is one of those things that we talk about a lot here on Polka Dot Coaching because I believe that it is super important, and I think that there's too many of us who don't take the time to really fully tap into what our passions are and to figure out how to explore those more. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. I think the trickiest thing about passion and uncovering your passion is that most of the time it doesn't reveal itself to you in this kind of lightning bolt, stroke of genius, stroke of brilliance where you're like, my passion is painting. That doesn't happen. So I think a lot of times it reveals itself to us in glimpses. So, we all know that I am big on taking big things and chopping it down into small, bite-sized, manageable pieces. So, of course, I also have a way to do that for finding your passion. So, today we're going to be talking about my count them, 5 easy questions to start tapping into your passion. All right, let's go. The first thing I want you to think about is, when was the last time you felt most alive? So, really kind of dig back in your mind and think about those times that you just felt much like yourself. You felt most like yourself. You felt calm. You felt at peace. You just felt like you. And you might have felt like, God, this is really living. Think back to that. One of the things that I noticed in my journey to becoming a life coach is when I really look back on those moments when I felt most like myself and I felt most alive and most at peace with myself, I was helping someone. So I was always involved in a lot of mentoring programs. I was involved in a public service sorority that did a lot of outreach and worked a lot with children and women. And those are the things that made me really excited. And those are the times when I felt most like myself. Also, I realized that being able to get out in front of a crowd and speak to a crowd, so public speaking. So all of these things are the things that I started thinking about and kind of zeroing in on and thinking and realizing that those moments held some weight. The second question that you want to ask yourself is, what do you want your life to stand for? So, when you look back on your life when you are 95 years old and you're reflecting back on this really lovely, long, luxurious, fantastic, phenomenal life that you've lived, what do you want it to stand for? What are those things that you want to stand out about your life? Think about what you would be most proud that you accomplished. So again, reflecting on this long life that you've lived, what are some of the accomplishments that you would be really proud of that you accomplished? Something else that you can think about is what would you regret that you didn't do? That's going to give you a pretty clear picture into some of those passions, some of those things that really light your fire. Next, we want to focus on something that I think is really important and something that a lot of times gets overlooked. And that thing is, you want to ask yourself, what are your core values? Now, your core values are those things that are unshakable. They are those values that are, true and true to the core. I like to think of them as our deal breakers. So if you know that you absolutely need creativity in your life, then it's absolutely, absolutely, absolutely imperative that you seek out opportunities that will give you the chance to be creative and to spread your creative wings. The fourth question that we want to think about is kind of a fun one, I think, so you get to, play a little make-believe, and it's probably something you've seen before, but it is, what would you do if you could not fail? So if money, time, resources, talent, all of that stuff were just not even an issue, you would absolutely succeed at what you set out to do, what would you do? I think this is a really great question because a lot of times we stop ourselves from following our dreams or from really tapping into those passions and pursuing our passions because we give ourselves all these excuses about time and resources and money and all these things all these reasons why we couldn't possibly go after these passions. So going through the exercise of imagining what you would do if you could not fail, that's just not even an option. I think that's really telling. So, get your journal out and do some visioning and think about what it is that you would do if you would definitely succeed at what you set out to do. The last thing we want to think about is, what are you amazing at? What are you absolutely amazing at? Each and every one of us is absolutely amazing at some things. There's something on here that you can do that someone else can't do that well. And a lot of times you might overlook these things, and you might be like, that's not really a talent, that's not a strength, but it is. It's your strength, and you need to embrace it. So an example of that is I am pretty good with people. I'm a good people person. I read people well. I can talk to strangers. I've never really had a problem with that. But for a long time, I kind of threw that away because I was like, that's not really a strength. Big deal. I like to talk. But as you know out there, that's not something that everyone does really well. So something that I needed to recognize and embrace and figure out how I can do more of that, how I can do more of talking to people and putting people at ease, which is something that I get to do with coaching a fair amount of the time. So think about what you're just perfectly amazing at and how you can use that skill and how you can do more of that thing that you're just great at. One caveat that I do have is to be careful. Sometimes you might be good at something, but it might not be something that you enjoy doing. So do be careful of that. So another example, personal example, is that I'm actually pretty good with numbers. I'm really analytic, but I don't really like working with numbers, and I probably shouldn't because it just kind of drags me down a bit. So that was something that I had to figure out the hard way, is that just because I was good at working with numbers and doing math didn't mean that I needed to become a mathematician. Let's recap, shall we? So, first thing that we want to look at is we want to think about, when was the last time I felt most alive? What are those things that you're doing that makes you feel so much like you? You're just wrapped in the ooey gooey comfortableness of you-ness. Second thing you want to look into is ask yourself, what do you want your life to stand for? So again, you're 95 years old, you're looking back on your life, what are you going to be most proud that you've achieved? What would you regret if you didn't achieve it? Third thing, super important, what are your core values? What are those deal breakers? What are those things that are you to the core? And how can you make sure that whatever you're doing in your life is aligned with those values? Fourth big question is, what would you do if you could not fail? So you would absolutely succeed in what you set out to do. What would that thing be? Failure is not an option. And then the last question that we want to think about is, what are you absolutely amazing at? So what are you just fantastic at? What do people thank you for? What do people come to you specifically to do? So with those really big 5 questions, that is really going to get you into the space of digging down deep and starting to think about these passions, starting to think about these things that just really set your soul on fire, that you're just excited to do. And once you really uncover those passions, you can then take the steps to start living a more passionate life, start infusing more of your passions in your everyday life. Or maybe you're a person that wants to pursue your passion as a profession and kind of dive all the way in and create a career where you're doing your passion all day, all the time. Hope that was helpful, and I would love to find out more about your passions. So feel free to go ahead and comment down below and let us know some of your aha moments from going through some of these exercises. Maybe you found a passion that you didn't even know was there and you kind of uncovered it. Maybe it's something that you just confirmed, something that you've always known. But go ahead and let us know how you work through these exercises and what you found. What's your passion? Also, I would love it if you shared this video. If it was helpful to you, go ahead and share it, tweet it, Facebook it, do all that fun stuff. Email it to a friend, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.